Forgive me. But I gotta open up this video with the sound. Cause it's been one of them days. One of those days. What is that? It's like, The only thing I can think of is Cats Don't Dance. But I know it's not Cats Don't Dance. So, today has been one of those days. My stomach is not, my body. So I know, like, every now and then I hear somebody talking about, like, our bodies, and like, we need to eat better, eat of the earth and other stuff. And I'm just like, you know what? Like, I'm not personally getting that guidance. Is it the resistance in me? Maybe. Highly possible. But every now and then my body will just be like, yeah, no, mm-mm. And right now it's one of those days. Like yesterday, I went to Burger King for breakfast because it's convenient. And like, I'm not waking up early enough to like have a decent breakfast. Excuses, excuses. And it was so greasy smelling, like so oily smelling. It was literally making me nauseous. Now, when I ate it, it wasn't as bad, but the smell of it made me nauseous. And today, I went to McDonald's and the smell wasn't as bad. When I ate it, it was pretty good. And I did get an iced coffee. I got a large iced coffee. And I've discovered that iced coffee, it's one of those things that I have to do in moderation because it messes with my stomach. Um, and I had like a medium iced coffee from Burger King yesterday that wasn't too bad. I also noticed it was a lot sweeter today. And I watched a little bit of Rob's live back, and apparently artificial sweeteners are making its rounds. um, but it like my stomach was just like whatever. And all day since then, my stomach has just been like, bleh. So I'm gonna have to figure something out. I'm gonna have to at least temporarily eat a little better. But today, all over, has been crazy. I'm so glad that last Wednesday happened. Last Wednesday, which is one reason, it's one of the reasons why I have the let's see. Okay, yeah. It's the Emperor, commander of intellections. Which brings me Skywaltress. Hello. Even the hot ones. Okay. I don't drink hot coffee because caffeine does nothing for me. Energy drinks don't do anything for me. And things that put people to sleep also don't do anything for me. Now, when I had to have my eyes operated on, and they had like the twilight, they put you in like they call it like twilight anesthesia or something, so they don't put you all the way under. Like the first time it worked. And like first time I remember like counting down from 10. I don't remember making it to 1. And then next thing I know, I feel like when it was happening, like I vaguely remember like it was dark. Next thing I know, I'm waking up and like they're willing me to the after whatever, and I'm like completely out of it. The second time, I really feel like they didn't give me as much as the first time. because I remember everything and I felt it. Now, it wasn't like my pain tolerance is like low already. Um, Also, apparently, I'm not going to be able to hold a thought today. My pain tolerance is low already, but the second time, the coffee, that's what I'm talking about. I felt it and it didn't knock me out. I remember the whole thing and I was just like, wow, like it was bearable. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. I mean, I guess it was more like uncomfortable than anything. It definitely hurt more than a pinch, but like, it was bearable pain. And I was like, I don't know if that gave me less or if my body after the first time. And that's, I know, like when I did the surgery, they did say since it's not a full anesthetic, a lot of people, I think they only said a lot of people remember more the second time than they did the first time. I don't think they told me, like, some people actually feel it the second time, but they were like, it's a mildly weak anesthetic. Mildly weak. It's a pretty mild anesthetic, and like they do the surgeries a week apart. So my body, like, but yeah, like Benadryl or whatever, people be like, I take Benadryl or I take NyQuil to put me to sleep. It does nothing for me. Energy drinks don't do anything for me. I drink iced coffee just for the taste. Honestly, I enjoy the taste. I enjoy the flavor. And I'm getting more because, like, Starbucks, first it was the frappes before I got into McDonald's still. And then I got a frappuccino from Starbucks. And I was like, these are strong. So because of that, I've developed an affinity for mocha and like a stronger flavor. But it was like so sweet and so light. I'm like, it was decent, but it messed me up. My stomach is like, It wasn't that scary. Um, Especially since it was the second one. I think if it was the first one, I would have been more whatever. But it's like I couldn't see, everything was black except for like the light. I mean, I didn't have a lens on my eye because they cut it out and then they put it back. Or they gave me a new one, a fake one. I got plastic. I think they're plastic. I don't know. But yeah. Eve girl, I'm good. I'm fine. My stomach is still a little whatever. I think I'm gonna have to eat better, at least for a few days, because my body is just like, mm-mm. Oh, I had a salad, but I think it went off like 4 or 5 days ago now. I think it went off on the 25th. So I'm just like, ugh. I don't know if it'll have to be like clean, clean, clean eating, or if it's just like, not processed or not fast food at the very least. Yeah. You want coffee now? Yeah, it does. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I was like scared. I was just like wishing, I just like was wishing that the meds had kicked in and wanting it to be over. Now the first time I was like, "Oh my gosh, that was so quick." Cause I barely like I was like, what? It's already over. The second time, it was still pretty fast. Like the dude is quick. The dude is good at his job. He was like, you're fairly young. It should only take me like 5 to 7 minutes to get it done. He was like, if you were older, and maybe it would take me like 7 to 10 minutes. I was like, oh, okay. So I've been popping peppermints like crazy. Not peppermint tea. I will say though, I was about to go to sleep, and the only because I was watching something else, and I'm like, it's not helping. I turned on Russ's house sleeper video, and my stomach felt better. I started this, and my stomach is back to grumbling. So it's gonna be a rustling around kind of night. And I was gonna send him a message, but like I literally came live right after, and I was like, I feel like that's gonna open the door to a conversation. And I don't want to be like, hey, I guess I could have been like, hey, I'm live, but I'll do that. Why not? No, I don't like I don't like telling people I'm live because then they feel obligated. I feel like they don't feel obligated, but it's just weird. So what? You were almost legally blind by 30? I was almost legally blind by almost 30. Um, and I guess I talked to one of the girls who did the surgery. She said that her eyes are really bad and that LASIK, either the LASIK is like really expensive or like she would have trouble affording it or that like LASIK wouldn't help. But so she was like, I wish I could get like the surgery done, but she doesn't have cataracts. So, but yeah, I have a condition supposedly genetic, but ain't nobody got it. It's retinitis pigmentosa. And so my peripheral vision is gonna, well, according to the diagnoses, it decreases to the point where I have like, I'm basically legally blind. Um, and what? Nice. I did hear because I had one friend who got not LASIK, but something similar. And he was like, you might have to like get multiple. I was like, what? I did have to have a follow-up laser surgery to um like fix the fitting on the replacement lens or something like that. And I've been like, I've never had 2020. Was that you? No, I think that was Clorinda. I should send Clorinda a message. She's been on my mind. I'm so bad at like reaching out to people right now. I'm like, you've been on my mind for like days or weeks. And I'm always like, oh, I should reach out. And I don't. Yeah, I used to have like I had when I first got my one lenses, if I didn't get like the highest grade, they were like that. Well, realistically, they were like that thick. And then one of them, I got it down to like that thick. The other one was still pretty thick. Like you could tell that they were different thicknesses. So. Ooh, I had Coke bottle glasses as a kid. I'm like, oh. Yeah. I mean, by the end of it, like everything was like this close to my face. But now after the surgery, like I'm farsighted basically. That's why I have the bifocals on. And it's like I'm used to like bringing everything this close to my face to read it, but now if it's too close, I can't read it. It completely switched um that thing. I was like, what? A whole lot of stuff is brand new. So I do have the Spirit Keepers Tarot Revelation Edition here. I picked up the deck. Twitty! Hello. To show a card, and I got the Emperor. I was like sitting back, so that's why I zoomed in a little bit. But yeah, what was I talking about? Today, all over the place. Like a mess at work. And it's like Murphy's Law on top of like everything. And I'm so glad that Wednesday happened. I'm so glad that Wednesday happened because even though my temper was just like more difficult to manage, even though I technically did walk off for like 10 minutes and then I came back. um, I feel like it really helped me not freak out today. I feel like if Wednesday didn't happen, today would have been a mess. I would have been stressed and everything. So Wednesday, and I by the end of the day, because of the initiative, I guess the self initiative, and I feel like it was more self initiative than braving because I wasn't necessarily that scared or nervous, but I did take initiative, like, excuse me, because I had the conversation. Yeah, girl, Wednesday, I did. I had to come back. I was looking at the astrology. I'm like, is something going on with Mars? I'm like, I'm such a hypocrite. Whenever something happens, I'm like, okay, it's time to look at the transits. I was like, is something happening with Mars? Like, what's going on? And it's because of the dream. I had a dream the night before that I got into it with somebody at work, and then I went into work and I had to have a conversation with that person. Now, I tried to not let the dream affect my energy in real life, but I told my coworkers, I was like, I had a dream last night. And then they were like, I think you're gonna go have to talk to that person. One of my coworkers, she was like, I think you're gonna go have to talk to that person. I was like, girl, I had that dream last night. So I went in and I had a conversation. I tried to have a conversation. And I was already like so much was happening Wednesday all at the same time. And I was like, hey, like, I was like, because I'm like, I'd rather go as soon as things are like looking questionable. Because I'm like, is there a chance that everything will work out? Sure. But I don't want to wait until the end of the day to try to bring something up. And then it's like, oh, well, why didn't you tell me earlier? Then we could have flexed, we could have prepared, we could have done blah, 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 whatever. So I was like, I'm coming to you now. We may have time. We wouldn't have. It's like everything. It's like one of those Steven Seagal question mark movies when it's like explosion, 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 explosion. Everything is just going off everywhere. And the conversation didn't go as I planned. And then, so I was like, blah, 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 blah. And the other person was like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And they were like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, blah, blah, blah. And I just like up walked out because it's like, there's no point. The conversation was so circular. Like with that person, conversations are circular always. And I feel like today I actually realized I am so glad that I have the educational background that I have doing this job. Because I could do this job and not have the same educational background. Because I did bioengineering, but I'm doing microbiology work. And I feel like more of the engineering side of it maybe prepared me for like, because being a bioengineer, probably for sure, it's like instead of just being like a biologist or a microbiologist, like we're trying to like we're putting engineering in it. So like there's something that we're trying to get done. But life, biologics, so often aren't, they don't just cooperate. You can take your classes, You can find out like how a cell is supposed to work and how a bacteria is supposed to work and how a mold is supposed to work, how plant cells work, how animal cells work, how amoebas work and protozoas and all that kind of stuff. But in real life, it's like they're going to do what they want to do. And sometimes they follow the rules and sometimes they don't follow the rules. And I feel like without that specific like background, I feel like I would have been more along the thought of like, this can't happen because it's not supposed to do that. Or this is extremely rare, or this isn't typically the case. So like this can't happen. But like being on the engineering side of it, where it's like life does whatever life wants to do, and we gotta try to like work with it. I'm like, yeah, I know like I know it's like, this isn't supposed to happen, but it's happening. So what are we gonna do? Um Toddler cells. Toddler cells are different. I watched it was a short on YouTube. The dude was somebody was like, "Oh, like if you don't want to be an ER doctor, you can always go to pediatrics." And then somebody from pediatrics, hey Holly, somebody from pediatrics was like, "Oh, like do your patients like are they going through all these changes in their bodies? Are your patients like, literally different every time you see them? Do you have to deal with like, parents when you talk to your patients and who give their children like differing levels of care? Some like bordering on negligence. Like, do you have to deal with all this in addition to like the regular stuff? No." I was like, oof. So they can keep toddler cells. I'm not even uh-uh. I can't. I can't. Right? And like I've had so many dreams about that person though. Chinese hamster ovary cells. Ooh, girl. Hopefully that's some stuff that's above my pay grade. That's a whole different kind of job. I feel like when you start talking about them kind of cells, then you really trying to engineer something. And I'm not I have an engineering degree, bioengineering, but my concentration was more pharmaceutical, not like cellular molecular. But I did take one class, intro to synthetic biology. And so like I took a class that was about like genetic engineering, and we talked about the ethics of it and all kinds of stuff. But as far as like doing that kind of work, mm-mm. Yeah, I could tell it's biotech as soon as I was like, oh yeah, that's biotech. I'm like, mm-mm. That's I don't know how I would feel personally, because like in general, and I'm not necessarily trying to open up a whole can of worms. In general, I feel like I'm not prone to distrust science, and I'm not prone to distrusting um, people in those fields. But also at the same time, I feel like there are certain things scientifically that maybe I think for me it's more of a gray area than maybe some people who lean as into science as I do. Because I'm like, can we do like science with boundaries? I don't know. That's why I'm like, oof. Wait, what company won? Yeah, see, I wouldn't like there was a video we watched about like sea slugs or something, and they cut it open and they were doing stuff. I was like, I can't watch this. I can't. I was like, I don't want to see this. And I know it's for science or whatever. I know it's to help our understanding of our own uh bodies and workings and just to expand our knowledge or whatever. But like, I can't. I can't. I was like, I wouldn't be able to do it. I wouldn't be able to handle the rat guillotine either. I'm just like, no. I'm sorry. I can't do this. Um, but I kind of thought about that because because I'm me. Um, because my Mercury is in Pisces retrograde in my 12th house natally, I'm I don't know. Because I'm me. I was like, I wonder if like that informs, not informs, but I wonder if there's a parallel there that connects to anything else. But I was just like, wow. Today I was like, I'm glad I can appreciate um being taught that sometimes life doesn't work textbook. And when it's not textbook, we don't force it to be or try to force it to be. We find ways to work with it. So wait, what? I'm not wait, what are you talking about? I don't work with like any of that kind of stuff. Are you asking me? I'm so confused right now. But yeah, Wednesday, and like I've had like I was like I want to. That's why I was talking to my mom. I was venting for like I would vent for hours sometimes, and I'm like I'm trying to vent now because I don't want to blow up later. And that dream I had, I was like, because I've had dreams before, but I never had to. Well, I take that back because I have had opportunities that I didn't take because it would have required more initiative than the situation provided for. So I did have to be presented with the situation before I ever confronted that person with anything. Because there were other things I could have had conversations about before, and I didn't. So then I had the dream, the thing happened. We had that one conversation. I go about my day hoping that I don't have to deal with it. Wait, what? Wait, what? I'm like, for a whole bunch of reasons that makes my life just infinitely more simple. I'm probably leaning very heavy towards like not saying where I work, but like I don't work at a biotech company or like biopharmaceutical manufacturing. I wish, like, well, maybe not necessarily. Well, see, I'm not quite so far into the pharmaceutical industry. Like I wanted to be, but I think I might appreciate where I am because if you talk about guillotining rats and stuff like that, I can't do it. And depending on the level of genetic manipulation and modification and stuff like that, I'm like, oof, is this too? So I feel like I'm in a sweet spot where I could be like work adjacent. Like a lot of my work is under a microscope that I don't have to get under, thankfully. But I actually did, and it wasn't bad. It actually went like a lot smoother than I thought it would. Um, but yeah, because it's just like it's so much. I'm just like, because corporations and stuff like that. I'm just like, it just makes life so much simpler. And then I can be vague and not be revealing anything. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, so I had the dream and I had opportunities to say something and I didn't. And so last Wednesday with the dream and with real life, and then like I feel like I was told one thing and I had to be in close contact with that person. I was like, let me have this conversation and then avoid you for the rest of the day. And maybe this is you were a science fanatic. What? I feel like The ingenuity of humanity intrigues me. Um, I personally feel like, I mean, again, like, should there be like restrictions? Should there be limits? Yeah. But, the mind is one of the things that the divine gave us. And I think that advancement and progress and like technology and stuff like that, I feel like it's as human as our biology is. I don't think that we were necessarily meant to always be cavemen or hunter gatherers or be living off the land. Like, if that's something that you want, yes. And is there like, are we ever going to be completely removed from the land? I don't necessarily think so. But I'm like, I feel like it was all given to us. Hopefully, we do some good with it. Um, yeah. Which is why I'm glad that I work with the people I work with. Um, like, literally 99% of the people I work with. Okay. Well, yeah. Well, yeah. 99% of the people I like interact with and engage with, no problems. I like them. I love them. The 1%, we're working on it. The 1% is the one that I had to interact with. So I had the whole conversation, and I'm like, I'm literally not like literally shaking, but I can feel like my voice shaking and stuff. And I'm partially annoyed at myself, but not really. Because even if my voice is shaking, girl, like, I'm gonna say what I gotta say, and you're not about to whatever. You ain't about to circular talk me into doing something that I literally can't accommodate for. So if you want this done, you're gonna have to step up and help me. If I had the time, if everything was going fine, I could do it. But life happened. Stuff came up. And if you want this done, you're gonna have to help out. And so then your mouth used to twitch. I don't know if mine does or not. I just felt shaky. um and so I had that conversation and I was like, okay, I'm gonna avoid that person for the rest of the day. But somebody somewhere with the chessboard, the map, the clock, the whatever, they said no. They said no. You had that dream, you're gonna have this conversation, and you're not gonna be able to avoid the person. And so the person was like, "Oh, well, if I want to do like if I'm going to help, then I'm going to need help." And I was like, cuz I went to the bathroom, I did some other stuff, and then I come back and somebody's like, "Yeah, they were like if they're going to help, they need help." And I knew that the help that they needed would be me. And so I was feeling proud of myself. I'm like, oh, I had this conversation. I did the thing. It didn't like go completely to the left. Everything worked out more or less. I was present and I spoke and I got my point across and I could just avoid the person for the rest of the day. And they said, no, your eye twitches. Sometimes one of my eyes just like randomly twitch for seemingly no reason, and I don't know why. And then it'll just stop. So it is. And I know that like that amount isn't necessarily typical, which is why, because I feel like the job already is what it is. If the people that I worked with added any more stress to the job, and it's not that like the job is like usually stressful, but I remember telling my some of my coworkers, I was like, I'm so glad that like a lot of people are super busy and things are always happening. And it's like most days are crazy for a lot of other people. Most days for me aren't crazy, thankfully. But I was like, people can still manage to be nice. Um, if they weren't, I don't think I'd be there that long. So, ah! Woo! Like, oh, he was like, in the meeting, eye starts to twitch, ear starts thumping. I'm like, let's wrap this up because Eve's gotta go. So your eyes shoot lasers and you speak very low. Oof. Somebody get Holly out of the meeting, please. um, but yeah, I really thought I was gonna be able to avoid that person for the rest of the day, and I was not able to. And we get up there. My understanding is that I am not going to be doing much. I get up there and I'm doing everything. So I was like, you know what? I literally could not, because of the dream, because of the earlier conversation, because I wasn't able to get the space and avoid the person. I was like, you know what? I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm taking a half day. And they were like, what? Like, why can't you blah, 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 whatever. I'm like, I feel like you intentionally misled me when you told me that I would be assisting you in doing this, not doing the entire thing basically by myself. And I was like, you know what? I'm taking a half day. I can't do this. I'm gone. And I left. And so, yeah, I walked off. I didn't just like leave, but I basically walked off. And then I told the whole thing to my mom. And she was like, well, did you at least talk to HR? And I was like, no, I should have. Even they were like, oh, we can get you another camera. They're like, oh, your camera's been broken for a while. How about we get you a new one? um, but yeah, because I just like I knew there was no way I was going to be productive, and that's as professional as I could keep it. I was just like, you know what? Because I was like, this isn't what you told me. And then they were like, oh, like, I don't understand why, whatever. And I was like, I feel like you intentionally told me one thing. And then we get up here and it's something completely different. So, anyway, we went to HR. Um, and I went to HR because I thought I was going to tell my version of the whatever. But when I went there, they showed up and we both went to HR. And like the HR lady was so awesome. She was so awesome. She mediated that conversation. I said my piece. She said her piece. I'm like, well, since we in front of HR and since I got a witness, like I'm putting it all out there. Because if I'm getting a clarification, I'm getting clarification in full and not just about what's going on today, about what's everything in general. While I have a witness. And so after that, I calmed down and then I was like, oh my gosh, thank you for mediating. Even in the meeting, I was like, thank you. It took a minute. It took a minute. And then after all that, we went out. We spent 2 hours doing the thing. I stayed until like I worked what 2 extra hours that day. I did work extra that day. I forgot about that. I worked extra that day and I had to go in on Friday. I had to go in on the day after Thanksgiving and I was supposed to have it off as a holiday. Anyway, before the end of the day, I was like, you know what? Like, sorry for, earlier again. Um, I still didn't understand why. I was just like, you know what? The things that aren't going to connect, they're not going to connect. It's just not going to happen. But it was an opportunity for me to see how that person operates a little more, and to come to to come to an understanding. Um, your HR lady is all puppies and rainbows. I mean, like my HR lady was like, I mean, I say she was cool. I feel like she was impartial, even when she could have been partial. But I also understand that that wouldn't have been productive for the conversation either. I feel like the HR lady couldn't just be like, yeah, you know what? He's right. You're wrong. She was like, you know what? In the future, to make sure that everyone's on the same page, I'm sure it would help for you to, like, if something is being asked of you, to like to repeat or ask back, to do that thing. What I'm hearing is like, you want me to do this and you want me to do that. And then they're either like, yeah, or they're like, oh, I also want you to do this, whatever. So it was like kind of sort of standard textbook HR, but she's just like, I love her vibe. So, but anyway, she was awesome. I don't know. But afterwards, and she was like, I'm human, sometimes blah, 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 whatever. And if you ever need to like take, like, if you need a moment to just like step away and like breathe, then like, or she said something about that. And I was like, I feel like that's what I needed earlier, but I couldn't have it because you had me up here doing something that you told me that you didn't tell me I was going to do. You told me I was going to do one thing and you needed me to do one thing, but I'm doing something completely different. And she was like, even if we're in the middle of a conversation, if you need to like step away, then like you can. I was like, thank you. That's the understanding we came to. But anyway, last Wednesday, and then I came home, I looked at the planets. The moon was like 0 degrees Leo. Mercury was like 0 degrees Sagittarius, and I think the sun was like 2 degrees Sagittarius. Mars was still in Scorpio. All I could think of, maybe Mars was on top of my Pluto, but I'm like, that's a lot of fire in the sky. That trine between the moon in Leo and Mercury, sun in Sagittarius. My North Node is in Sagittarius. My Chiron is in Leo. So was it an opportunity to like have a little bit of a voice? Yeah, I guess. But anyway, all that happened Wednesday. And I'm glad it happened last Wednesday because today I was able to just more or less sail through the day. It's like, all these explosions going off and things are happening. And I'm just like, I'm going to do what I can do and I'm not going to do no more. And it worked. I'm like, okay. Because last Wednesday, it was rough. It was a whole bunch of stuff I put off. I had opportunities to have the conversation before the situation happened. But yeah, I was like, okay, I'm thankful for it. You had one that was a wicked witch, so the rainbows are refreshing. Oh, oh. uh, I don't. I feel like I would just leave. Yeah, and I feel like I can be pretty agreeable, and like if something makes sense, I'm gonna do it. And I think sometimes, so whenever people like encounter that side of me that's like has a boundary and it's like no, whenever people like meet the Taurus side of me rather than like the Pisces side of me, I think it kind of sort of takes them aback sometimes. Uh, and then if they meet the Algol moon side of me, it's a completely different story. I'm just playing, kind of. I am mostly, sort of. But anyway, I don't know if today was like today was some like real low key frequency. I would almost pull out the runes and see if Ash comes out. Y'all remember when Reem drunk the Ash room when she was raking it live and like the camera fell and the candle was going crazy? I'm like, what is happening? But I was, I made it through. So I don't know why I picked these up. That's like literally all I wanted to say. Last Wednesday was rough. I did walk out technically. And wait, what? Doesn't Eve have to go or something? Does Eve have to go or something? I'm like half paying attention to the chat. Sag, Sun, Libra, Moon. I feel like I was telling Russ, I was like, because I was like, I don't know what's going on in what was going on in the astrology. All I know was the moon had just entered, and I went as close to the time of the incident as possible. The moon had just entered Sag, or Leo. Moon had just entered Leo. It was trying to Mercury in the sun. And at first, because I've noticed that water moons used to like, oh, wait, I said something? I was probably joking. I don't even remember what I said at this point. But water moons used to just like would make me so emotional. Crying for no reason, happy cry. I don't think I did too many sad cries. And then I noticed that like water moons weren't affecting me as much anymore. But I think I might have to watch out for fire moons now. So when the moon hits Sagittarius, I'm using vacation. I'm using vacation. I'm like, yeah, the moon's in Aries today, so I'm not gonna be able to come in. Sorry. Or maybe it's only while the sun is in Sagittarius I need to watch out for the fire moons. I don't know. I was like low key, honestly, there is a maybe petty part of me when he started talking about, I only made it like a few minutes into the video, but when he was talking about like the shadow of Libra, I was like, thank you. Thank you for saying this. Cause people be acting like they don't people be acting like Libra stuff don't stink. And there was one person I watched talking about Libra and how they're this and how they're that. I'm like, not that Libras can't, and hashtag not all Libras, obviously. But I've heard like, Libras are emotionally intelligent and they're this and they're that. And I'm like, where? Not that Libras aren't like, I feel like it's low key, it's that manipulator. I feel like Libras know how to tip the scales to get a certain outcome that they want. And I don't know if it's the Taurus in me or if it's the Pisces in me. That's like, I see what you're doing, Libra. I know what you're doing. And I'm not going to go for it. And again, like, not all Libras. But he got into the shadow of Libra. He was like, I don't know why. He was like, I was looking into this and I was looking into that. And it's like, it's hard to find the shadow of Libra in some of this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for mentioning the shadow of Libra. So, yeah. And it's not that I just feel like it was like what the only thing I would see about Libra is like one of those like what I don't like about your zodiac. It's like they can be indecisive or something like that. Like that's the only thing I saw. And I'm just like, yeah, no, Libra's got a lot more than that. I know sometimes the Taurus in me can butt heads with other Taurus, like when because my youngest brother is a Taurus. Also, recently, within the past week and a half, maybe, one of my worst nightmares was confirmed. My youngest brother is also a Taurus. So his Taurus sun is the same degree as my Taurus rising. And we would butt heads all the time. I've only had like two not great roommates. And the second one, I think he was a Taurus. And we had to live together. So it's like when I live with other Tauruses, it's not that there's problems, but whatever. And I'm like, I don't know if it extends to the other side of Venus too, but yeah. But once we make up our minds, it's final, mostly. Yeah. Not to like, not to be like, I don't know. It was validating. It was validating to hear somebody else talk about the shadow of Libra that other people act like they don't see. And then I'm on here talking about Libra. I talk about everybody. I talk about Pisces. I talk about Taurus. I talk about myself. I put myself on blast sometimes. Sometimes I get put on blast. I was like, wow, in my own video. Don't put me on blast. But anyway. Um I was like, oof. But they say that the first step is acknowledging it. The first step is to see it. The second step is to decide. And then the third step is to carry out whatever decision you made at step two. But anyway, yeah, I just felt like, I don't know. I like, and again, it's not like every Libra, obviously, but I was just like, yeah. Because, like, low key, I feel like Libra was one of the signs I just noticed. And I think it's like one of those things. It's like before you like get into astrology, you think of certain people who like you just don't get along with for whatever reason, or like something about them like rubs you the wrong way for whatever reason. And you're like, oh yeah, they're Libras, they're Libras. And I think another thing that, yeah, knowing is half the battle. I think another thing that I didn't like about my one friend in particular sometimes is like I would be like super like fantasy, like going full Pisces mode, and then they'd just be like, that's not realistic. I'm like, if you can't engage the fantasy, if you can't catch the vibe and ride the wave with me, if you're gonna try to ground me right now, if you're gonna try to ground me right now, I don't need that in my life. I got parents who don't even ground me anymore, but my mama probably would. I think my mom, she did ground me. I was like at school, and she's like, "You didn't do your homework. You got another zero. You're grounded." I'm like, "You can't. How you gonna ground me?" She was like, "I will drive up there and take your TV and take your games." I was like, "Oof." She maybe would have did it too. Your Juno was 23 degrees Pisces. What? I think my Juno might be in Libra, actually. He was chasing the sun. I know he said, I did see the part where he's like, the sun moves so fast, the laptop has to stay cool, but if it's too dark, you can't see me. But anyway, I do like, there are things. Honestly, though, I feel like I reached a point in my life where I was able to appreciate my Libran best friend, especially in particular. Um, I was able to appreciate him and all that he does, and like he's someone that like, um I can look it up. He's someone who like I can depend on, especially now that he knows who I am. I feel like he's better able to meet me as me. um Sometimes he'll be like, you could do this or do that. I know you're not going to listen, but I was like, you right. And he's like, I don't mind like being wrong or admitting when I'm wrong, but it's just like certain people, it's just like, I don't want you to be right. Because if he's right, you'll never hear the end of it. Oh, wait, hold up. Gotta go to my natal chart. No. Where is my Juno? Hold up. Hold up. Oh, it's not on. Let me turn it on. I was like, I thought my Juno was in Libra. No, my Juno isn't in Libra. Where's my Juno? My Juno is in Cancer. Oof. My Juno is in Cancer. Like 6 degrees away from a Mars. And then my Black Moon Lilith. Well, no, this is Lilith. This isn't Black Moon Lilith. My Black Moon Lilith is in Pisces. And Black Moon Lilith is like the calculated dark side of the moon or whatever. But the asteroid Lilith, my Lilith is in Scorpio. So my Lilith is in Scorpio, trining my sun in Pisces loosely. Um, and my Juno in Cancer and my Mars in Cancer. Um, and then my Ceres is actually 12 degrees Pisces, which would trine my Mars anyway. No, Juno is Hera, so the wife of Zeus, Zeus's wife, Jupiter's wife, goddess of the hearth and a family, maybe. So, oh, what is Juno? I don't know. I don't think I have a yard. What's in Leo? Juno is like, I don't know, because it feels like she did a whole bunch of like punishing other people for stuff that her husband did. And it's like, girl, like, why don't you go talk to Zeus? Why don't you make your man act right rather than like punish the people who didn't even ask for what he's doing to them and they kids? But you know, that was old Juno. Oh, your Juno was in Libra. Leo, gotcha. Maybe that was like old Juno. Maybe new Juno is like, you know, Zeus, this is what I expect. Jupiter, Jove, you will behave yourself. You will be fi- 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 fidelitus. What's the word for like committed, faithful? You'll be faithful. There you go. Or maybe she's like, you know what? We're gonna open up this relationship. Maybe it's like polyamorous. I don't know. They have a conversation. I don't know. I don't know what Juno is though. Um, because I feel like her story wasn't that great. I'm sure there are some things that she did that weren't terrible. I think Juno was like goddess of hearth and home, but her own like home life was like not great. So anyway, I could pull up a card since I have these. What's Juno? Oop. Well, so the Archangel of Mysteries came out with the Ten of Cups in reverse. So, um, Ten of Cups in reverse, Archangel of Mysteries, and at the bottom of the deck is the Force, which is strength. And the caption is the tamed lion, but I don't know if that lion is tamed or not. Like, it's like as soon as you let the lion go, the lion's going to do what the lion does. Read the Archangel of Mystery. Okay. The Archangel of Mystery used to come out when I first got the deck quite often. The Archangel of Mystery actually held something for me in the Vitruvian edition. And oh, I love the evolution of this deck from the Vitruvian edition to the Revelation edition. And I don't have the first edition to know how it moved from the first to the Vitruvian edition. Archangel of Mysteries, angel who illuminates the shadow. This is an omen of self sufficiency. Ooh, an omen of self sufficiency. Maybe Juno was like, you know what? If you're not going to honor me, instead of me being mad about everything you're doing, maybe I got to ask myself why I stay in a situation where I'm treated like this. And you know what? There are plenty of people who would be glad to have me, who would honor me, who would treat me right with some decency and some respect, and who would conduct themselves in a way that honors me. And if ain't nobody else gonna do it, I can do it myself. Maybe not. I'll continue reading. This is an omen of self sufficiency. All that you need for fulfillment has been and will be provided. Here's the Archangel of Revelations, set in pre Columbian. Oh, girl. Tehuelche occupied Patagonia, the southern tip of South America, incorporating parts of Chile and Argentina. In the skies is the Pleiades under the constellation Taurus, an omen of prosperity and abundance, of a great harvest to come. The corn symbolizes provision, one who is a provider, one who nourishes and sustains the livelihoods of others. You work and labor not for yourself, but for the establishment of a kingdom for your kin. And the SKT, Hru manifests as the Angel of Mysteries. Oh, and that's HRU. So I like that for her. I like that for Juno. Because sometimes Zeus will never get it right. Sometimes Zeus will never get it together. Jupiter is going to be Jupiter. Jove is going to be Jove. And maybe Juno reached the point where she's just like, you know what? Maybe that's why the Ten of Cups is in reverse. Yeah. Don't ask me who that is because I would have to Google it. Maybe the Ten of Cups is in reverse. It's just like because what did it say? The Archangel of Revelations. I feel like it's like the answer was so simple. Maybe it was a lot of Juno being like, like, am I not doing this enough? Am I not doing that enough? Am I not enough this? Am I not enough that? Like for him to go out and it's like, no, girl, like if you were everything that he wanted and more, he would still be out there doing it. It's nothing for you. And I think that's why the Ten of Cups is in reverse here. And it's Mars, like, this is the shadow of Mars and Pisces. This is what everybody was like. Let me stop. Because it feels like no matter what you do, you can do all that is within your personal power and still not get that Ten of Cups upright feeling because it's not within you. And I feel like that's what the Archangel of Mysteries is revealing through that self sufficiency. It's like there are things within you, things that are yours, things that you can control, things that you can contribute, or ways that you can contribute. Do I have reversals in here? No, I don't. Oh, that's interesting. So I'm putting the cards away and I open up the deck to the warrior, which is the sun. Oh, hold it. Okay. And I open up to the warrior, which is the sun. And it's interesting because I was just thinking how I don't think the sun is as prominent in the Vitruvian Force card. And the sun is back there, like shining. And then it came out. But I think that's like, and it's like no wonder why you could never find the answer, or no wonder why Juno could never find the answer. No wonder why Juno could never sort of like be enough for Zeus in that way. Because whatever, like that's within Zeus. And so it's like it's for Juno to work on Juno to the point where maybe part of that energy had to be associated with something or someone else to like, I mean, because I guess it was just her lot. It was her association, hearth and home, family, marriage. And like you look at the state of her marriage. And then again, like she's out here tormenting and terrorizing the kids and the mothers of kids who ain't even too much ask for whatever. Mothers who ain't even ask Zeus to whatever because she couldn't have that conversation with him. Because again, it's like there are things that are within our ability to handle, control, whatever, and there are things that are not. And we can only do so much to pour into someone who especially doesn't want to be poured into. And I think sometimes, especially when time comes into the equation, it's like, well, we've been together for this long, or I've been in this situation for this long, or I've wanted this for this long, or like it's my dream, it's what I always sort of desired. And it's like, yeah, but if it's not fulfilling you anymore, if it's not giving you what you're worthy of, what you're deserving, then how much is it really worth continuing to try to make something work? You can't be the only person. So, so so the cards that came out as I was shuffling, it's the healer, and is this Kuan Yin? I don't know, maybe not. The healer and the sacred sword. This is the star and ace of swords. There's a wheel of fortune question mark. Well, it's not necessarily the wheel of life, but there's a wheel energy on this ace of swords. And that star looks like it could be a sign. It's also interesting that both are getting poured into the water, but it's like one of them is being poured into a whirlpool. So it's like anything that you pour into it, it goes down the drain. So it's like, pour where it's taken, like where it actually nourishes something and something grows rather than it's very like bottomless energy. Um, what's interesting though is it feels like there's a path to it up until a certain point, and then hold on, let me see. I'll try to show you. At the bottom of the deck is the Hierophant. So kudos to learning our self worth, healing, and then from that space of a more renewed self-worth, or a more present self-love and all that self stuff, expanding from there to like really learn and to really get to know intimately what we're truly worth. And then, like, I feel like, again, this is that new Hierophant, new commitment, and energy of commitment that honors everyone involved. So, love that. But what was I about to show? This. So, it feels like in the back, the path is pretty well established. But here, it's like rocky and like less of a rock. And then you have like this entire lotus. And so maybe that too is bringing in that energy. Good night, Eve. No problem. Thank you for being here. Um, Maybe that is that energy. Again, it's like, in the beginning it was one thing, but then it's like it reaches a certain point where decisions have to be made. Decisions always are always being made, but and I think like oh, the Queen of Swords from yesterday, sword out front with the baby on the hip. Yeah. I think because even like Ceres, Demeter, the mother of Persephone, her energy for a hot minute now, it's been one of like letting her daughter go. She's learning to let her daughter live her own life. Like, she can't continue to let the earth die for half of the year while Persephone is with Hades. And I feel like within my scope of the myth and the energy, it feels like the love between Hades and Persephone is true. You can't force love and you can't force anything to grow. I feel like if Persephone really didn't want to be there, the pomegranates wouldn't grow. The only thing that grows in the underworld, it wouldn't grow. And it's like because her mother can't let her go, they have to reach this, they have to bargain, they have to make a deal where she can only spend half of the year with her husband because the other half of the year, she's got to be with mom so people don't starve. Because, the goddess of the grain, she's letting crops die up there. And maybe she get her own life or something. I don't know. But it's time for a lot of those, I guess, energies to not wisen up, but I mean, I guess they would have to offer something different in order for us to get anything different. I don't know. That's just what it felt like. I know, like, not all the myths agree. And some myths is like Hades took Persephone and Hades tricked her or whatever. And it's like, I don't know. Something about Persephone it doesn't feel like the type to just like be done in. And again, it's like it feels like if it were forced, nothing would grow. If it were taken, it wouldn't be there. Now maybe they met under a certain circumstances, like Beauty and the Beast. Eventually, they fall in love. What was it like at the front end? I don't know. But it's like, girl, you gotta let your daughter go. You gotta let your daughter go. And I know for some it's difficult because it's an identity thing. Maybe mother was her identity, and it's like you don't stop being a parent just because your children aren't kids. Like, you're always a parent. We're always a child. We're always someone's child. And if you have kids, then you're always going to be someone's parent. But like when that becomes our identity, that's when it's like, and that's something that I feel like, because I went to, whatever school I went to, and there are quite a few people who go there who are like the smartest where they come from, and they score high, they get straight A's, and smart becomes their identity. Straight A's becomes their identity. And so then they go to school and they get a C or a B or a D. They don't they hit that first test where it's like, oh crap, this is hard, it's difficult. And it causes their entire self to crumble because smart was so central and so core to their identity. A lot of them maybe were always like, oh my gosh, you're so smart and blah blah blah, whatever. They're put in a place, they're challenged for the first time, don't perform, and then all of a sudden it's like it's bad. It gets bad. And because I was in that depression group for a semester, and I was like, I got my first C when I was in middle school. So, and not that like straight A's or smart was ever necessarily part of my identity, but it was like I allow myself to be more than one thing. There are many things that I love about myself and I treasure about myself and that I value um, about myself. And so my identity doesn't become completely built upon a single aspect of myself or a single facet of my life. And it allows me flexibility for those things to be changed. And it's like, I guess if that's like, and like the same is true for like some people who are like athletes. It's like, they're used to being athletic. A mover is who they are. And so then if they suffer an injury where they can't move, then it's like, well, that was my whole life. That was my like that's what I did everything for. And now that I can't move like I used to, like what is there to live for? Oh, that got darker than I mean the dark undertones were there, but they weren't necessarily as present. But it's that same self crisis. And I almost said ego crisis, but I don't necessarily think it's the ego. There's a part of me that's like, I don't know if the ego is complex enough. Not to make the ego sound dumb, but it always feels like it's more of the self than it is the actual ego. And maybe it's an inability to fulfill the desires or the lifestyle of the ego that causes some tension. But it reaches into the self and it creates voids within the self that have to be mended. I don't know. So yeah. But also, there are external pressures too for some people. Like if I don't get, you know, straight A's, all right, Holly, enjoy the rest of your evening. Like if I don't perform, if I don't do this, if I don't do that, and some of them, like there are actual consequences. So it's not merely just like I'm being questioned in a way that I haven't ever been questioned before, and everything that I believe to be true about myself is now maybe false. And in those moments, I guess we just allow ourselves to be more. We find Rob said that. I watched a piece of it because I think he said in like the therapy world that like when you have a new client that they would they would guide the person to find strengths that they have. It's like there are other things like you're still worthy, you're still deserving, girl. Just because you can't provide for somebody right now because you're going through is like if provider is who you are, and if you can't provide, it's like, you're still worthy of everything. You don't lose it just because you're not useful in the ways that maybe a lot of people have encouraged you to determine your worth. You still have worth outside of it, right? If I take a $20 bill anywhere that $20 bills aren't accepted, it doesn't make the $20 bill worth any less. No, if we talk about currency exchange, we're not even going there. It's just like, and then that's when it goes to that energy of find the ones who appreciate you. Find those spaces where you're loved, honored, welcomed, accepted. So, but I feel like as humans, it's part of our complicatedness. When we chase after the ones who don't want us, or when something comes too easy, then we don't want it, or it's like once we get it, we lose interest, always on to the next one. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's a thing. It's most definitely a thing. Um, I am curious though. I'm not gonna do it. I was like, I am curious to see how the Vitruvian edition would depict the energy of Juno. But yeah, I think that's I don't even know what the gods would be doing. I feel like that's the challenge of some of the goddesses and their corresponding energy. But oh, my Juno is in Cancer. Okay. Because Cancer, the zodiac sign associated with like, home and family and stuff like that. Because it's cardinal emotion and it's like the love between a parent and a child or something. I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, that's what I got. Is there anything else, Twitty? Is there anything that you would like from me or anyone else? Oh, girl. But it is like it's almost my bedtime though. And I feel significantly less nauseous now. So thank you all for being here. But yeah, last Wednesday was crazy. But as crazy as last Wednesday was, I had peace today. I'm like, you know what? I'm good. You're good? Okay. But yeah, I guess I could, I don't know. Anyway. So I hope you all have a good whatever whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. And I guess until the next time, I will catch y'all later. All right. Have a good one. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate it.